Hola amigos, this is Level 12, and today we are going to be talking about the real case of Arne Johnson, Devil in the Details. So recently, using that word very leniently, I watched The Conjuring 3 and was left disappointed to say the least, especially because it felt so different from the previous two Conjuring movies. At least the movies that say The Conjuring in them, in that it was very Warren focused when it seemed that it could have been more focused on the case and the family. I mean, not guilty by reason of demonic possession seems like more than enough to make a movie based off of, right? Well, my friends, that's where the devil in the details comes from, but I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we need to talk about the Glatzels. So, according to my sources, mostly Wikipedia and an article from Connecticut, the Glatzels, along with Arne Johnson, had recently acquired a rental property in which the supposed demonic possession first occurred. It began with 11-year-old David Glatzel after he claimed to see an old man / a demonic creature around the house and appearing before him on a waterbed with hooves. Initially, the Glatzels thought David was trying to get out of his shorts because he was reported to be obese and lazy by the New York Times, like an original article from the 80s. However, this opinion quickly changed as David began to have vivid night terrors, go into deep trances, and bruises started to appear all over his body out of nowhere. 12 days after the initial incident, the family reportedly contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren. However, this is where information gets kinda muddy. It's true. The family was religious. The mom herself was a devout Roman Catholic, but contacting the Warrens is an iffy on whose idea it was. Two lower priests claim they never recommended the family contact the Warrens for an exorcism, while both the family and the Warrens say the priest did say contact them. In any event, the Warrens were called, and Lorraine Warren claimed to see a black entity around the boy. They then claimed that David housed 43 demons. 43 demons in his body and would then perform 3 exorcisms on him. Here is where Arne Johnson comes into the picture. I would like to note that Arne Johnson's nickname was Cheyenne, and a lot of sources only call him Cheyenne, so just have that information. I only call him Arne Johnson. After one of the final exorcisms, Arne reportedly told the demon to leave David alone, which they show in the movie, and instead enter his body. Both Lorraine and David at the time claimed they saw an entity then enter Arne's body. After this, David seemed to be fine. However, in the coming months, both Arne, his mother, and his girlfriend Debbie Glatzel would report that Arne exhibited signs of demonic possession. This came to a head in February of 1981 when Arne Johnson would murder Alan Bono, his landlord and boss of girlfriend Debbie. According to multiple sources, Arne, Debbie, Arne's younger sisters, and Debbie's cousin, and Alan Bono were having lunch at the Mug and Munch Cafe. Reportedly, both Arne and Alan drank heavily and returned home alone. The girls went out to get pizza, though would later return because Debbie claimed she could sense something was wrong. Reports then say Alan had grabbed one of the younger girls and wouldn't let go, and then Arne ended up killing him and stabbing him multiple times with his pocket knife, though Arne claims he never remembers this. I would like to say here that some places report Arne Johnson stabbed Alan Bono 20 times, while other sources only say Alan Bono had 5 stab wounds. I'm not sure which is which, but nonetheless, it was a gruesome murder and the first in the town's almost 200-year history. Not long after Arne Johnson was arrested, the Warrens, members of the clergy, and Johnson's girlfriend and mother stepped forward saying that Johnson was possessed at the time of the murder. A lawyer named Martin J. Manella took on the case for free to pursue the possession route. I'll take a full stop right here and say that I 100% believe the lawyer took on this case simply for a publicity stunt of attempting to try a case by arguing demonic possession. And this isn't reaching, by the way. He told his peers that he thought taking on this lucrative case would give him higher lucrative cases. He just reeks of a scheming lawyer, as he would later threaten to subpoena some priests that refused to talk about the exorcism, / claim they didn't even know about it. This never happened, I don't think, because we'll get to it. At this time, the same claims were levied against the Warrens, that they were doing this for the money and the fame. However, the Warrens were already famous before this. Annabelle, Amityville, and the London case, one of the most documented cases of haunting of all time, all happened before Arne Johnson. Though I've read plenty of cases that they've passed on, such as the haunting in Connecticut, another house haunting case in Connecticut, they passed on that. So I'm inclined to believe that they at least believed in what they did, meaning they believed in the demons and all that jazz. So, how did the trial go? Well, on one of, if not the first day of the trial, the tiny courtroom was packed shoulder to shoulder with reporters from all over to hear about this demon defense. The grounds both the lawyer and the Warrens wanted to stand on was the fact that 2 cases in Europe had also tried to say not guilty by reason of demonic possession. I don't think these went to trial, but they tried it, tried to have it set in court. The judge of this case, a man named Judge Callahan, however, did not allow this defense. Manella tried to get a different judge to try the case, but the judge stood by his ruling that even if demons were at play, it couldn't be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. With the demonic defense thrown out, the case lost any fanfare. Media coverage of this went down like that. Ed Warren was the only one of the original bunch to take the stand as a character witness with no mention of possession. The jury found Arne Johnson guilty of manslaughter, not murder, and he served 5 of his 10 to 20-year sentence. In the time that he was in prison, Arne got engaged and later married to his girlfriend, Debbie. He also took some classes while in prison and left the system in pursuit of a pretty normal life. Like, there's hardly anything known about him, or at least reported on, once he got out of prison. Afterwards, the Warrens and Johnsons collaborated on a book and both maintained a good relationship, while the Glatzel family themselves came to detest the Warrens and their involvement in their lives. Carl Glatzel, older brother of David, said multiple times that Arne Johnson did in fact murder Bono, and that he didn't believe the Warrens or David's possession. I think it's interesting to note that Carl Glatzel was not depicted in the movie at all. Carl Glatzel also sued the author of the book that The Devil Made Me Do It, that movie is based off a book by a man whose last name is Brittle. He sued him, and now the book is out of print and sells for a lot of money on Amazon. So, how did this movie compare to the first 2? Once the case is over at the end of the day, how did The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, how did it compare? And I think it was the worst of the 3. I wasn't a big fan of the first movie. My favorite one is the second one, which I know some people don't like either. The previous 2 Conjuring movies, I felt a real sense of the families the Warrens were helping. But this one had a strange divorce from the family, it was mostly the Warrens. I think it's because most of the movie had to be fictionalized based on where they started in the story. The entire plot of trying to find out who cursed the Glatzels and helping find the body of another dead girl, that was completely made up. And while some of it was entertaining, I just don't think it holds up to the other 2 movies. Especially this movie actually made me bored. I don't know what it was about it. I was just bored watching it. I think the creators of the Conjuring franchise got really excited when they learned that the Warrens attempted to try a case using not guilty by demonic possession and purchased the rights to the movie, without hearing the entire story of the case and how that defense got thrown out pretty quickly. I think instead the bulk of the movie should have been spent on David's possession, the 43 demons and 3 exorcisms, the middle part being Arne Johnson challenging the devil, and the rest being the murder trial of Alan Bono. That way it still holds some of the tenets of the first Conjuring films, the family aspect of it, and you still get to make a movie about a demon trial. You still get that piece of the pie. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about. The case of Arne Johnson. I found it really interesting that they tried to take a more true crime aspect to The Conjuring versus the other two movies. Now, I haven't looked in depth of the haunting cases of the first Conjuring or the second Conjuring. I feel pretty stable that those two movies were not as fictionalized as this one because Lorraine Warren died in 2019 and Debbie Johnson died only a few weeks before the third Conjuring movie was released, so I'm sure they were pressed for first-hand accounts, especially considering the Glatzels themselves don't believe the demonic possession stuff, so I kind of understand why they had to do the fictionalizing, but I think from now on they should probably stick to the solid core cases of what had happened. The next logical step I could see them doing is either if they could get their hands on Amityville. I know there's already a huge horror franchise for Amityville, and I don't know if they can get the rights to it, or the original Annabelle case. In every Annabelle movie, they keep on hinting at the original Annabelle case with the 3 college students and the nurse girl who picked up the doll and was like, yeah, Annabelle, you can stay in our house, and that's the next logical step, though I do think the Conjuring franchise needs to see its closing soon. It's getting to the point where it's overstaying its welcome, and there's no issue with a franchise ending and still being good, because I love the Conjuring franchise. I just think with both the Warrens dead and the people their cases are about getting old, senile, and eventually dying in the next coming years, they need to end it soon or they're gonna trash the franchise. Anyways, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more random fandom things. Ciao, chicos.